Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Sana Iftikhar and I will be your host for today. Along with me is Love Kumar Lohano, my co-host. And we are from the City School PAF Chapter Senior Section. Today, we commence the third session of the PAFian Talks. As the digital and the technological spheres have advanced over time, so have the problems caused by it. So, our topic for today is the rising impact of cyberbullying. Since the advancement and easy accessibility of internet, cyberbullying is one of the most reported cases in the world, be it adults bullying youngsters or even the opposite. The availability of keyboards have made it even easier. Hence, to delve into finding solutions and enabling the youth to deal with such circumstances, we have a remarkable and a diverse panel of guests and professionals for this session. Our first guest for today is Ms. Mehreen Nazar, who is an assistant professor of law and functional head of bachelor's in LLB program at IBA. She excels law and legal studies, international law, conflict resolution, and legal analysis, to name a few. She is also the senior vice president of PAF Women Lawyers Association. We are delighted to have you as our guest, Ms. Mehreen. We have also been joined by Mr. Abdul Muiz Beg, who is an alumni of the City School PAF chapter. He has recently completed his master's in law from Harvard Law School, prior to which he was working at the Supreme Court of Pakistan, assisting judges of the Supreme Court on a variety of cutting-edge constitutional issues. Sir, the students and teachers from chapter would like to welcome you. We have also been joined by Ms. Ramsha Khan, who is currently an English teacher at the City School PAF chapter. She is a CBT therapist, excelling in cognitive behavioral therapy under PACBT. Next, we have with us Mr. Ijaz Muhammad Ismani, who is also an alumni of the City School PAF chapter. He is currently studying at LUMS, majoring in accounting and finance. So let's start with today's topic, the rising impacts of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. What does it mean? In simple words, it means to use gadgets or harm or harass someone through sending emotional or rude messages or blackmailing them. Literally, no one is immune from this disease because we all are the children of the internet. Before we start off the question and answer session, please do note we will be taking a few questions from the audience. So pour in your queries and our experts here will answer them for you. My first question is for you, Ms. Mehreen. Ms. Mehreen, what are the methods used for cyberbullying on social media platforms and games?
Miss Mehreen, please unmute your mic. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much for inviting me to the session today. And thank you very much for the generous introduction. Cyberbullying or cyber harassment is actually just like you mentioned, bullying or harassment using a different mode rather than a face-to-face or an interactive kind of a behavior. It is when you use a gadget or an electronic instrument and you carry out behavior which is undesirable behavior. There are many forms of cyberbullying. If we see what happened in the real world when people were interacting face to face, and then we talk about the post-COVID world, post-COVID-19 world, where we have seen a sudden increase and more use of technology and internet and other means and methods of communication than physical interaction, we will see that the whole scenario or the whole place, the world that we live in has changed very significantly. What are the different forms of in which we can experience this? Students in schools, colleges, we are no strangers to bullying. It is a very not just in Pakistan, all over the world, it is a recognized form of student tension, student problems in the schools and colleges that we face very regularly. It's behavior of one student towards the other, which can be undesirable, which can be demeaning, which can be trying to harm the reputation of a particular student or trying to harm the reputation of a particular person. This can be done in generally in chat rooms where people are chatting on different groups. Very common in a gaming scenario where you have groups of people in this setting where they are in teams and they're playing, and then you have this whole discussion or communication that is going on the side. That's where this is generally experienced. Other than that, stalking someone, very common in previous days, in my younger days when we were in school, we would see that in people following other people around. Same scenario happening on the internet or through text messages or in chat, where you don't want to receive certain communication from other people, but they actually consistently insist on sending that information to you. So all of these can be different methods in which you can experience cyberbullying. More significant would be where you threaten people, blackmailing or exposing someone, or you actually have this whole concept of where you spread false information about students, not just real information, which is invasion of privacy, but also false information that is created and motivated for the purpose of demeaning or defaming a particular student. So these many other forms, whatever is physically available is also much more quickly spread and much more visible and much more harmful in this age of the internet, where you can use multiple gadgets at any one time to spread all that information and uh, to to demean or to defame people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marine, for your valuable input. Mr. Ijaz, are you aware of any more methods?
Yes, thank you, Sana. First of all, I have to say I am proud to have been hosted by my own sister here. Good job, Sana. Before I move on, first I would like to redefine the word bullying that we as a society have defined it in such limitations. Bullying isn't just only the use of excessive force or the use of abusive language or the use of fear to exert dominance. It is also the activities that make a certain individual uncomfortable. It is something that, or anything that damages a person's mental health, or it is something that makes a person question their own capabilities or their alliances. So along these new lines that I have said, there are many new forums, new activities that can be seen and must be categorized in bullying, but are often overlooked. Alongside what Ms. Ramsha has said, or Ms. Marine has said, of stalking and hacking and invasion of privacy, I believe there is a medium we know right now as the culture of memes, which is very popular on the internet. We share funny stories, funny photos, and funny videos, and it's just for the purpose of a single laugh. But on the other side, there are some people who use this medium to actually defame and demean some people. They target certain individuals, their insecurities, their weaknesses, and they do say that it's for the purpose of fun and that we were just having a laugh. In reality, it is what you have done is that you've shattered the confidence of these people in front of every person that has reacted on that simple meme. For you, it was maybe a simple pastime, but for that person, it's caused him trauma. It's caused him something to look back at, something that might have made some other people uncomfortable, or might have been due to his weaknesses. So I believe this is something that which is very much often overlooked in our society, but we should really focus on it. I have an example. There was this very popular meme of anti-government in our society, and I'm sure all of us must have seen it. It was a very popular meme. It was a very enthusiastic and a rather an abusive response to the government's actions. It was circulated on the internet 1,000 times. But an interview by her son a few years ago revealed that that woman was now living in a mental trauma, that she is ridiculed in the streets everywhere she goes. Her relatives have refused to meet her, and that her daughter cannot find a suitable person to marry because they would simply reject because of her mother's actions. So for us, it was just a simple show of it was simple laugh, but uh, its backstory, its context, and the person involved in it was really harmed by it. We don't really see it, but it's something that's there. And every day, me and you, we are all responsible. We all see this on our social media. We see pictures, we see videos, we see stories where there are literally names mentioned, or there are pictures where there people are being portrayed during embarrassing moments or saying something which shouldn't be said. These are some things which do not usually come forward, which we people are really enjoying it every day, but we do not say it. But I think that it is high time that we really should focus on these small things rather than bigger things as well. That they will really help the scenario where cyberbullying is very dominant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure your reply will help create awareness among individuals and families. Ms. Ramsha, as a therapist, do you know why people cyberbully and what kind of people tend to be cyberbullies?
Thank you, Sana. First of all, I would just like to say that I totally agree with Ajaz, where he said that all of us do play a part in bullying one way or the other. That's something that I'm going to discuss later on. But there are several reasons as to why people bully. The first one could be to show power. Now, see, the digital world is a completely different world than the real world, right? And even though cyberbullying and physical bullying, the behavior is the same, but in cyberbullying, you are behind the screen. So there's no way of catching you, or you're not really accountable to someone, even though there are specific authorities. But these individuals, they feel like they're not able to they can harm anyone by posting anything on the internet, by saying anything, by posting any comment or any meme, which is not actually right. So this is usually for power, or to take revenge, or because of this self-righteous behavior. Now, if you focus on that, this is something that is in all of us, right? Because for example, sometimes I would post something and that would be according to my belief. But if there's someone else who does not believe in that specific thing, then he would get attacked and he would comment on it, and there would be other people who would support him and they will attack me as well. And because of that, there will be a group of people attacking me just because I had a different belief. So there are people, there are these individuals who usually bully. They have extremes. Either there's black or there's white, so there's no gray area. They're not ready to accept the opinions of others, and that is why when their opinion or when their belief is attacked, or if someone has a different opinion or a different belief, then they try to retaliate, and then they try to attack or bully the person. This is something that we need to work on. Almost all of us need to work on that. We need to accept that there's always going to be an opinion, a different opinion, a different belief of others that we need to agree to. Then there's also these individuals who bully. They actually lack empathy. Now it could be due to different reasons. Maybe they have been bullied earlier. Now there's this specific label for these people, and they're called bully victims. Why? Because they have been bullied earlier, and now they feel like it's okay to bully others, or maybe they want to retaliate, or maybe they want the others to feel the same. So that is why, because of in that process, they lack empathy. Or it could be because of different reasons as well. It could be because they live in the same environment, or maybe because their family is like that, or maybe their upbringing is like that, or maybe they have been bullied at home as well. So bullying is a very vast term. You can't really narrow it down to just harassing someone online, or just making fun of them. It usually happens at our homes as well. For example, I remember when I was young, a lot of my brothers and my sisters and my cousins and my family members, they would just sit and they would make fun of me on the smallest of things, and they would feel like it's okay. But no, it did affect me a lot, and I did feel like I was bullied when I grew up. I understood that I was actually bullied when I was young, right? And maybe because of that, I became very critical of a lot of things. But at that point, I did not know about it, and I feel like we do the same to a lot of people. Apart from that, there are people who also do bully due to just to get attention. Sometimes they feel like they're not been giving too much attention at home, or they don't really have a lot of friends. So just to fit into that circle, they try to agree with things, or they try to bully other people just because they feel like, okay, maybe this will make me famous. So there are a lot of things that can be discussed, but I feel like these were the major things that we should talk about.
Thank you so much for your response, Ms. Ramsha. Mr. Moise, what are the chances that individuals who are bullied may indulge into certain acts that may be harmful for them or people around them?
Well, firstly, let me just begin by thanking everyone for inviting me over here, and it's a pleasure to share this panel with all the amazing members of the audience. I think what's extremely important, we've spoken about the psychological effects of bullying, but I think one thing that's extremely important is that bullying, especially in cyberspace, often results in self-censorship, because we all know that we often use social media to express some of our opinions. We use social media to express ourselves, but often social media gives rise to a number of echo chambers. So, for instance, we just spoke about how a number of people on social media have this need to fit into a certain group. So, for example, if you express a certain political opinion, and if I see that a number of my friends are opposing that political opinion, I would actually, even if I agree with you, just to become a part of that group and just to get a sense of belonging in that group, I may actually attack your opinion just because I want to feel that I am a part of another group. And as a result, what we see is that the person who is being bullied on social media, they often then refrain from expressing their opinions. So I think one of the advantages of social media, 10 years or 12 years back, we saw that social media was being used in a number of revolutions throughout the world. We saw the role of social media in the Arab Spring as well, for instance. But what we have seen in the past 3 or 4 years is that with all these attacks and with the rise of cyberbullying on social media, there's a degree of self-censorship because people are afraid of expressing their opinions freely. I think one more problem that we've seen in recent years is that social media, in essence, when it first came, reduced the cost of expressing your opinion. So, for example, you did not need a television channel, you did not need to own a newspaper to express your opinions. You could have a Twitter account or a Facebook account and freely disseminate information. But what we have seen in the past few years is that a number of powerful individuals now hire PR firms that run a number of bogus and fake accounts, and they can use those accounts to peddle any narrative that they want to. So I think what we've seen in the past few years is that not only has bullying resulted in a number of psychological problems for people on social media, but there has been so much noise on social media that a lot of valuable and important information has often gotten diluted, and a number of people have now actually been are now reluctant to express and share their opinions freely on social media.
Thank you very much for your response. They will certainly serve purposeful to all of our viewers. Mr. Moise, if someone is cyberbullied, how should they report it and to whom in Pakistan? How should individuals deal with cyberbullying?
Well, that's a very good question. Look, for the longest time, we did not have an adequate cyber law mechanism in Pakistan, and we had no cyber law regime. But in 2016, the National Assembly and then the Senate passed the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016, and that crime actually criminalizes a number of activities which constitute cyber harassment and cyberbullying. So, if someone, for example, today feels that they are being bullied on social media, they can essentially do three things. They can go to the nearest cyber crime center, which falls under the rubric of the FIA, and they can file an official complaint. Just like you go to the police station and file an FIR, you can go to the FIA and you can file a complaint. At this point, because the law is still not as old, we only have cybercrime centers in 4 cities. We have them in fact, 5 cities. We have one in Islamabad, and then we have one in each of the provincial capitals. But what you can also do is that under the FIA, we now have the National Response Center for Cybercrimes, and you can actually post a letter to them. It can be in either English or Urdu or any of the regional languages, and you can simply write a letter saying, giving your details, giving your identity card number, giving your address and name, and mention how you are being bullied or harassed on social media. Thirdly, they also have an email address where you can simply write an email and inform how you're being harassed. And we've seen in the past few years that the FIA has been extremely proactive in addressing these concerns and these complaints. Moreover, in the recent past, we've also seen that the CPLC has also acted against some people who have been harassing women on social media. But the ambit of the CPLC's activities is quite limited. The CPLC has only been acting against cases of harassment against women on social media, whereas the FIA has a broader mandate under the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016, and not only can the FIA proceed against women who are being harassed, not only can they proceed against people who are harassing women on social media, but other information as well. For example, stealing somebody's data, stealing somebody's credit card information, and all these other crimes also fall under the rubric of the FIA.
Thank you very much for your enlightening and thought-provoking advice. Ms. Ramsha, nowadays depression, low confidence, anger, humiliation, isolations, and suicides are becoming common due to cyberbullying. In these conditions, the only thing that people see are suicides. How can people, especially teens aged 18 to 11, cope up with the situation?
Okay. First of all, I would just like to add something to Mr. Moise, what Mr. Moise said, where he mentioned that there are a lot of laws and there are authorities where you could report to. I remember back when I was a teenager, something happened. I think my account got hacked or something, and at that time, it was I don't know. I was I was 17, no, 16, 15, 16. And I remember my account got hacked and I did not really know what to do. But then I came through this email address, and I actually emailed them, and in a day or two, they called me. And they said that we are going to come to your place, we're going to gather information, and if you feel like if you feel like you can't really talk at your place, maybe you can give us information on call, and we'll work towards it. And it actually happened. I got my account back, and nothing happened at all. So these things work. A lot of people, a lot of children, they think that it's not safe, and maybe their parents are going to get to know about it, and if there's something private. But you should always complain, because it will work out. So yeah, moving on to suicides and depression. Yes. See, the world for teenagers is just social media, the digital world. It's for only teenagers, I feel like, because they're always on their phones, they're always on Instagram, they're always on Facebook, they're also on Snapchat, or always on Snapchat. And this is where they're always sharing everything, and they get influenced by it a lot, right? So the first thing that we need to do is that you need to take a social media break. Now, if you feel like it's getting too much, you take a social media break, distract yourself. Maybe go to a friend's space. If you feel like, no, you don't really need socialization right now, maybe go to the park, maybe paint, or do some exercise, do yoga, go swimming, do anything. Just use some distraction techniques, okay? Or if you feel like you're being too stressful, there are always people you could talk to. There's always help that you can get. That you can also talk to a friend or to your parents if you feel like you can. If you feel like you can't really reach out to your parents, maybe talk to your sister or your cousins or whatever. Apart from that, okay, so there's this hierarchy of fear. So if you feel like you're being bullied, and maybe if someone has posted your picture, or if someone has some information that they're going to leak, or it's going to endanger you, right? What you can do is that you can see, okay, I'm just from a scale from 1 to 100, I'm going to see if it's going to affect me below 50, then can I ignore it? If yes, if it's below 50, you can ignore it. Try to do something else, try to take a break. If it's above 50, the fear is too much. What you can do is that you need to report, as Mr. Moise shared and the others shared as well. You can always report it to the authorities. So that is something that is going to help you out. But in all of these things, I feel like social support is a huge thing. You need friends, you need your parents, and I feel like the parents need to be very open to their children right now. That time has gone where you have to be strict. That does not really work right now. And one more thing that I really would like to add is stopping the cycle of bullying. So recently there was this case where I know that this can get a little controversial, but there was this case where a child was a differently abled child was bullied, right? And his brother got to know, and it was all around social media, and everyone was talking about it. And then they found out who that specific person, who was that specific person who was bullying that child. And when they got to know, a lot of other people, they joined in and they started bullying her as well. Now this is a cycle of bullying. This is not stopping it. If you want to do some good in the society, you need to stop. Okay, you need to find a way. If you feel like, okay, this I know who the bully is, go talk to her, go talk to her parents. Going up on the internet doing the same thing again and again, it's just you're jumping on the bandwagon and you're not doing any good, right? So I feel like this is something that we need to work on. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your perspective, Ms. Ramsha. Ms. What does the say about cyberbullying? Does the court solve cyberbullying cases and issues? Does the law recommend penalizing cyberbullies for misusing technology?
Okay, just like Moise mentioned earlier, there is this act which is the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, which talks about certain kind of behavior which is punishable under this act, and that behavior includes stealing information from someone else through electronic means, cyber terrorism, hate speech, all sorts of forgery and frauds which are committed through other modes than the traditional and conventional modes. Section 18 through to Section 23 of this Act actually talks about specific kinds of behaviors where you can actually punish the person who has done the undesirable act. For instance, if an act carried out by a person is against the dignity of a natural person, that is a section 18 offense which can be used, and punishment for contravening this section is 3 years, up to 3 years, and there's a fine of 1 million rupees which can be imposed on the perpetrator. However, there are issues in how you will go about proving whether the dignity of man has been affected or not affected by a particular act. In Section 19 of the same Act, there is a discussion about harming somebody's modesty. So if the modesty of a person for instance, when certain pictures, interactions with this person taking place with someone, happening with someone, those pictures, movies or videos or short clips are actually put up on the internet, or they are actually shared with groups of people without the permission of these people. This is actually also an offense in Pakistan. And Section 19 says that up to 3 years, 5 years imprisonment and 5 million rupees fine can be imposed on the person who's carried out such activity. However, if the victim is a minor, and minor is actually defined in the law itself as somebody who's under the age of 18 years old, if the victim is one of these kind of persons, then the punishment is 7 years, up to 7 years imprisonment, and 5 million rupees fine for contravening this particular provision. This actually covers a whole range and a whole variety of offenses, acts that can be committed by a person who discloses undesirable information, or even information which is true but is private information to that particular person. So even if you are in a relationship with somebody and that information gets out because it has been posted by a friend of yours or somebody who's posing to be a friend of yours, or anonymously even, that is actually dealt with in Section 19. Then Section 21 talks about cyber stalking. So yes, if somebody has entered into this or committed this offense, where they are actually, despite your requests for stopping that kind of behavior, or despite you not responding to that kind of behavior, has continued to bully you or harass you in a manner on these in the cyberspace, then that is also an offense which can be punished up to 3 years. And again, if it's a minor who's a victim of this particular act, it can be up to 5 years of imprisonment. There are, however, issues about the burden of proof and the standard of proof for these offenses, which may be a loophole, if you like, and not be sufficient enough. The law might not be seen as very stringent or very strict, but the basic framework or structure of the law does actually exist. Similarly, Section 22 of the same Act talks about spamming, where you are actually, we all know what spamming is. So if you are actually indulged in that activity. And Section 23 of the same Act talks about spoofing. So if you are not identifying yourself, if you're using some made up identities, if you're assuming somebody else's identity and you're spreading rumors, information, or threats to somebody else's identity, that is actually also an offense according to the Prevention of cyber electronic crimes in Pakistan. How are the courts behaving with that? Like Moise said, it's a very recent law, and we have seen in the case where PUBG was actually asked to be, the PTA, the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, was actually asked to look into the matter of whether PUBG should be banned or not, or whether it should be reinstated or not. So how are the courts behaving about this? I think the courts need to be more forthcoming and understanding of the whole environment that we are in, and be able to help not just the victims in this case, and punish the perpetrators, but also to create a precedent which creates an enabling environment, and an environment where the victims actually feel comfortable enough to go and talk about these issues with their parents or with their authorities, like again mentioned earlier. They can go and talk to an elder or somebody who's going to represent them, or they can complain themselves about this. So confidence needs to be inspired by the court system itself, where the judges are taking a serious issue with these matters. And again, wherever it is reported, we have seen the FIA has been extremely vigilant, extremely helpful in this area, and we have actually seen the CPLC, who's actually also been very, very vigilant and helpful for the victims of such crimes. So I think yes, the courts can take cognizance of these undesirable practices and actually punish the perpetrators. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mehreen. Mr. Moise, how is law enforcement developing in dealing with cyber harassment, crimes, and user safety?
So this question that you're asking, one of the comments on this webinar was also very similar, and they asked that yes, we've had a law now, but have we had any convictions under this law? So I think it's really important to speak about the conviction. So in 2018, we had the very first conviction under the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016, and a person was convicted for disseminating questionable pictures of the complainant in that particular case. Similarly, last year in 2019, also we saw that there was a person who had installed a secret camera in somebody's house, and they were then threatening and blackmailing those people whose videos were recorded, and they were blackmailing them and threatening to disseminate those videos on social media. And that person was also convicted under the same act. So I think we have to realize and acknowledge that this law is still in its infancy. The law was only enacted 4 years back, and after that, when you enact a law, it takes some time for people to understand what the law is and for them to actually invoke the law. So we've seen some convictions under the law. Similarly, we've seen a number of NGOs and a number of other organizations like the Digital Rights Foundation, Bullies, who are actually providing assistance and aid to people who have been aggrieved of cybercrimes and cyberbullying, and they are providing assistance to those people as to how they should approach these problems and how they should report these offenses. One thing that we also have to realize is that in any criminal justice system, there are three aspects of the criminal justice system. Firstly, you have the investigation, which in these cases is conducted by the FIA. And as we have spoken, the FIA has actually been doing a lot in the past 2-3 years. And I think in that sense, their performance is quite commendable. But the second element in any justice system is the prosecution. I think what we have to understand is that cyber crimes and how to prosecute cyber crimes is also something that's very new for our prosecutors. So I think what's extremely important is that these prosecutors are also trained as to how to collect evidence so that they are able to adequately and effectively assist the courts in convicting people who are responsible for perpetrating crimes under this act. And thirdly, I think a number of our judges also, they perhaps at this point do not understand, because a number of these crimes are not conventional crimes. They're used to certain crimes, they're used to certain acts, and cyber crimes, how they're conducted, how a person is bullied on social media platforms, how somebody's data is stolen, is something that's very new for not just us, not just the public at large, but also for our judges and our prosecutors. So I think at this point, what's extremely important, we've enacted a law, and there would also be some problems in the law, because let's remember that this is the first time that we've had any cyber law. Before this, we had no law. So as we go about, we will also find out a number of vacuums and lacunas within the law. And I think over time, we may also improve the law. But at this point, what is absolutely urgent is that it's important to train lawyers, and prosecutors, and judges as to how to prosecute these cyber crimes and how to understand the evidence that's been gathered. Because the evidence that you gather about cybercrime is quite different from evidence in other cases, for instance. So I think at this point we have to invest heavily in training people so that we can have more convictions in the future.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Marine, if this situation is not taken seriously, what impact will it have on our future generations?
I think Ms. Ramsha would be actually in a better position to answer this question. But as far as the law is concerned, if we don't take cognizance of these offenses right now, if we don't sit up and we don't create precedent, like Moise said, we don't work on capacity building of our prosecutors, we don't work on capacity building of our judges essentially to understand this new concept. I remember we had this struggle when we were talking about intellectual property rights enforcement in Pakistan as well, where judges had to be trained and judges had to be specifically geared towards understanding the evidence that is being provided in courts and how a successful prosecution could be carried out. So all of this needs to be done. And if this matter is not addressed at this very stage, because what we are seeing today is a very different world post COVID-19. We are seeing a world where earlier parents would get away with saying things like, bachas keep away from gadgets and don't get into spending too much time on the screen. Now essentially it's a basic need that students need to be studying, students need to attend classes online, and we are in the cyberspace more than we are in the interactive world that we were before. So if this matter is actually not addressed, I'm afraid that whatever the impact of bullying was actually before this COVID-19 situation is actually going to multiply very quickly, and we are going to see drastic effect of that, because now the students are, and everybody, not just the students, all of us are now in a space where we need extra protection of these laws. Unless these laws actually are geared up to protect us, or the judges understand these cases and these questions better when they are raised in their courts, and unless they are prosecuted more thoroughly, I don't think that we will be looking at a very space safe. I was reading somewhere there was a survey carried out where the most secure environment, this most secure cyber environment, Pakistan was actually ranking 7th from the worst cyber safe environments in the world. So it is very, very disturbing to see that we have deliberately now, or we have to open up our students who are youngsters, even young children who are attending classes online and are interacting with each other in the cyberspace. We actually need to be very, very careful, and we need to provide better implementation of the laws that already exist. And we have to have judges being more empathetic and sympathetic towards the new changing situation, and how they can actually help the victims even before people are encouraged into committing such crimes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marine. Ms. Ramcha, our viewers would like to have a look at your perspective on the same question as well.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is that I was reading a question of Miss Aliza, and I think it connects with your question. See, obviously, the post-COVID world, as Miss Marine said, that it's completely different. It's going to be a digital world where everyone is going to be affected, and everyone is affected. I deal with patients. I deal with patients who are under 18 as well, and they're going through a lot of anxiety, and that is most probably because they're always on the internet, they're always on social media, and they're facing bullying of one way or the other. For example, if we just simplify bullying, it could be in easier words. For example, if I give you an example, if I'm giving a presentation, right? If I call a student and he has to give a presentation, and by mistake he puts in a different slide or a different picture or a video that could be a little embarrassing, most of the students would get up and they would start laughing, and they would start making fun of that specific student. Even the friends, they would not help him out. And for a moment, that specific individual will get a little embarrassed, but he will laugh it off. But that is just because he wants to fit in. He just don't want everyone to see that he's embarrassed. But that is also bullying. So I just want to make it clear that the term bullying, it's very broad, and a lot of people do not really know about it. So if I answer your question and Miss Aliza's question, it's very important that we give their workshops, and there are counseling sessions for students, for teenagers, for children, for even adults, that about cyberbullying or about bullying, so that they know what, when and where are they actually bullying others, and when and how is that affecting others as well, right? And if you get to know about it, only then you will be all of us as a society will be able to maybe work on it and maybe try to reduce it. So yeah, I feel like this. And there's also one thing that I would like to add: this canceling culture that is very famous these days on the social media. That is, if you don't like something, you cancel that person or that thought, or if you don't like someone's belief, you cancel it. Okay, fine, I am canceling this person. You posted on social media, I am canceling this person. Are you with me? No. Okay, that is how others are going to others are going to stop posting about their opinions. They might not able to voice up their opinion. They might even feel anxious even when they're typing a single comment, right? So I feel like it affects your mental health too much, and for that we need to start from the basic level, from the scratch, and start giving counseling sessions to students from a very young age, so that when they could go back to their homes and they could talk to their parents and spread the word.
Thank you for your responses. Indeed, cyberbullying is already a troublesome issue for us, and it can be for the upcoming generation as well. Mr. Ijaz, what message would you like to give to the youth regarding cyberbullying?
Thank you. Right, so I'll talk directly to the youth right now, who are the same as me, who are at a studying level, and they see these things, people being bullied, people being mentally distorted on an everyday basis. I see this too, and I know that you all see it as well. So I'm just going to say that in this highly digitizing age, and that at the rapid pace it's being digitized, I believe cyberbullying is here to stay, and unfortunately, we all have to deal with it. Um, as a person who's helping other people as well, who lives in a friendly environment where we share with each other, where we collaborate, where we stand up for each other, I'm going to share some tips with you that we in our university specifically have, and we do it so that we may be able to hold this situation under control. So first and foremost, all of us should try to refrain from sharing sensitive or some controversial posts or information or opinions on the social media. There are certain safe and friendly forums on which there are opportunities for us to share them, and I would tell you to do it over there. But on a public place, uh, as Ms. Ramsha said, there are people with differing opinions, with different points of views, with different beliefs. You can't teach all of them. You can't tell them to change your opinions all the time, and they won't. So it's better to keep your own self safe. It's better to be safe than sorry, and not even give a chance to be bullied, to give a chance to the bullies to even pick on a single point and harass you. Do not share sensitive information with everyone, and use privacy apps and be safe. Second, I would like to say that if you are unfortunately going through this, share. Share with someone you trust. Share with someone who's by you. Don't be afraid, because half of the time all of us are just dying up inside. We're anxious. We're emotionally breaking down, and we believe that we do not have anyone to talk to. We do not have anyone to talk to. I tell you this out of experience, that there are people who are willing to talk to you. There are people who will understand you, who have been through these things, and they do feel what you feel. So be open, be share with them. Sometimes all a person needs is to be open and someone to talk to. Third thing is that you need to stand up for yourself. It's the best way of defending yourself, and the best way to learn as well. At this early stage, if you do it now, your life is going to be a blast, I'm going to say. this life is unpredictable, and it sends shockwaves towards you throughout your life. And if you do not stand up for yourself, you will suffer. So face them confidently, and I promise to you that you will come out of this situation more stronger and more confident than ever. Fourth, I would like to say that um, do for others what you want for yourself. Obviously, we want someone to be there for us, we want someone to support us. You should do that for other people as well, because they're expecting that as well. And if they don't, then obviously they're gonna die, and that's a loss for humanity, I'm gonna say. Last but not least, the bully. Bullies, as Rasha said, there are insecurities. They want to be popular. They want to get into a group. They show dominance. For a bully to be a bully. In our university, Alhamdulillah, that we do not no part of that. We help the person. We help the person be better of themselves, be somehow better to the.
To all our viewers who are asking us questions, we're sorry for Thank you very much for joining the PAFian Talks and giving us your precious time. It was indeed an honor to have you all. I hope you found this stay corona free.